So, as the summer comes to an end, I find myself reflecting on the beautiful summer adventures we had this year. Missing one of our favorite continents on this planet, me and Dihab packed our bags and headed to Europe, Woroba. As we always like to travel a bit differently, we visited some very interesting places and events. So join us on the adventure. First, we went to Portugal to attend an event I went to back in 2017 before I even met my partner Ihab. It's called Being Festival, and for those who have never been to a conscious festival, let me tell you, this is one of the most transformational experiences you can have. Full immersion. And the adventure began with a big first as well, as it was one of my dreams to rent and live in a live-in van for the week. And of course, Ihab agreed to drive it. He was really good for a first-timer, I have to say so. Welcome to Being Festival. Ihab, your first festival, how do you feel?
أول فيستيفال بكرفان كونشس فيستيفال عم بحس مش عارف ده
أنا اجيت على بيينج in 2017 يعني قبل 7 سنين وضليتني لابسه البريسلت وسنين إيهاب بيقول لي اشرحي هالبريسلت ليش هالقد معلقه عليه
بعطيك اياها بس تدخل
زي هاي فهلا عم يفهم and the journey has only started. يعني مثلا كل حدا كارفان جيران تحكي مع جيرانك كل حدا بضيف بعض تمشي بيكون في activities فرح نفرجيكم شوي. We went to some awesome, magical, vibrant activities, yoga sessions, circles. We met some very interesting people, some who lived their whole lives in these vans by choice. And of course, there were evening song circles on many days.
How connected you are, if you ever forget, how connected you are. I remind you how connected you are. You just come to me and I remind you. Hey ya, oh. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya,
We continued the journey then to Spain, landed in Seville, where we visited some beautiful palaces. I'm gonna say I am a fan of beautiful palaces, especially their gardens. Then finally we went out to nature. We went to Austria, where we spent most of our days in nature, walking around forests and lakes, and also inside the spas, recharging our bodies. And at night, I learned a new game. I kept winning Ihab. One of the things you should know about me is that I love to win.
احكي الحقيقة مين فاز 2000؟
5-1
إيهاب ما تكذب.
غلبتك 5-1 5-1
إيهاب عم تكذب؟
انت بتعتبري 5-1 فوز ليه؟
حرام أنا فزت ولا لا؟
أنا 5 هي 1.
مش قادر تاكنولج إنه فزت؟
بنكر
$2000 بدي إياهم كاش.
بنكر
أعطيني
5-1
وين؟ إيهاب ما بدأت أدمتي لوست.
مديحة ليش هاي الرقصة؟ عشان لك إيش غلبتيني؟
أول مرة بلعب فزت 2000.
لسه ما خلصت الجيم. ما خسرت الجيم.
How does it feel to be
دول الناس اللي بيحتفلوا ذكيا.
Day 3.
Don't celebrate too early.
صار يعمل حاله تعبان.
طب يلا العبي.
صار ايش صار؟ $30. He went down really fast.
لسه في 30.
ماشي سيارة بعدين عطل.
لا ما فيش روح رياضية.
قلت ايه؟
هلا البرتغال خسرت وهون لا.
ايش رح تشتري $6,000؟ One of my favorite memories was when we drove to another spot in Austria as we drove through Germany to get there and found this super special river on the way. It was so mystical and clear, and there was something ancient about this moment that I will never forget. Hello beautiful humans. حبيت أفرجيكم جمال الألبس. Then we drove to Lake Garda because we wanted to go to a place that would be warmer. Of course, Italy called us. In fact, the reason we also went to Lake Garda, we felt like waterways and lakes did seem to be a big theme in this journey of ours, probably because we missed the water element so much. Living in the Middle East has its own beauty, the beauty of the desert. But one of the things we often talk about is how in the desert we often miss the water element. So we stayed in the mountains as we really love the feeling up in the mountains, in the Dolomites, where it feels like you enter an ancient fairy tale land. They say the old witches of Europe used to live in these mysterious mountains, and they were the inspiration for some of the Lord of the Rings stories as well. Then we set off to Croatia, where Ihab was meeting with his mastermind group. And by the time the continental Europe part was complete for our adventure, we set off to the UK for a different part of the trip, which included discovering a sacred land that has been calling us for a long time. As you guys know, we love traveling to sacred lands. We wanted to explore a very special town called Glastonbury, known for its very special energy and magical people. We stayed in a really cute Airbnb, and we arrived late on that first night and had to jump through some funny hoops to finally find it, but it was all worth it. And then find the keys in a pot of flowers, and it's really nice. Glastonbury goes. Magic is unfolding. Glastonbury has many little treasures, including the Chalice Well, where many people gather on a daily basis to play music and hang out, the tour, the Abbey. And another cool thing is that they are always hosting really cool events there. I went to an event about UFOs and crop circles, where unusual conversations are definitely the norm.
We do a lot of weird stuff, which we'll talk about tomorrow in West Kenya, in caves. My psychic quest really has.
And so what I want to say is I'm aware of what happened in this big dark agenda is that inorganic substance, any inorganic substance we take, it loses soulite out of the body. It loses soulite out of our body. As a healer, when you work with people, drugs and medication, it's harder to get in, it's denser. But also, we are souls, we are spirits. So it's worth thinking about what happens when we die. Where are we going to go? What does make me rest at night is I was like, you can take my dad's body, but you will never take his soul. Yeah. And I wish that for all of you. They can do what they like to us, but when you realise it's a spiritual war, never give them your soul.
And also got to meet talented teachers like Tanishka, whom you might know, a sacred feminine teacher whose many books I've read before. It was such a great pleasure to meet her.
Priestesses would do the dance of the seven veils once they had graduated from their initiation of the archetypal heroine's journey. On the understanding that art provides such an essential service to the collective psyche, the world soul, because it reflects back the inner terrain. And when the inner terrain is validated, it heals us, just as invalidation traumatizes the soul. Because in the Grail lineages, you didn't get to be royal by birthright. You had to do your initiations in the mystery schools to awaken the inner serpent. That's why we have the insignia of the Kundalini cobra on the headdresses of the pharaohs. Yeah, you had to be responsible with power to have power.
By the chalice well, I met Bonnie, whose video Crack Me Wide Open, a musical video, I had watched on repeat on YouTube. It was so cool to receive the song live by the sacred waters. We liked Glastonbury so much that we started visiting homes with the interest to move there. On my last day there, I discovered there was an inner sacred pool that many could swim and do ceremonies and sing in. It was just pure magic, but I couldn't film while inside. And I think that's good, because sometimes you just want to keep something sacred and away from our cameras and screens and the gaze of the world. Keep the experience private. So, back to the Eurotrip, or shall I say forward. We wrapped this summer adventure up with a beautiful wedding of my friend Shadan in Amsterdam. If you haven't already checked her channel, please do, as she offers yoga in Arabic and her energy is just so healing. Our friend Sumaya was also there. Check out her Instagram too, as she's a wild and inspiring traveler. What I loved about the wedding was that it was in nature and felt very intimate and cozy at the same time, while holding Shadan's strong Palestinian roots. I also loved that after doing their Katib Kitab in Palestine some months ago, they did this European ceremony here in Amsterdam, so all cultures could be respected and celebrated and included in their reunion. Oh, and I kept sneaking out of the dance floor to eat some wild blackberries. I couldn't resist. I really, really, really love berries. And meanwhile, my friend Sumaya. What a gem. By the way, I find it interesting how people who are committed to their authentic self will always find a way to express it, no matter where or when or even with whom, those are my people, my tribe. Of course, it wouldn't be a Palestinian wedding without a zaffe. Everything is always connected. From the Arab world to Europe, from within and without. Nothing is ever apart. We left home and we found home in all these miraculous little places. I hope that you've enjoyed this adventure with us. And until next time, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like to dive deeper in our community shares, check out the info on my inner circle. And I'll see you again next week.
بالفرح نشارك يا عيني ويا عيني وعيشادا يا عيني عيشا يا عيني